Kishre yuna gival du na gifilde. See, he saw it and he went right at it. He was like, nah, no problem.
Yeah. I could have died. Yeah, right. I could have fallen, scraped in. I could have scraped in my eye, and I could have died.
Yeah, one kid, a carp, threw him through a glass window in New York, and he had a concussion on the brain. You're from New York?
Yep.
You know Brooklyn?
Yeah, there was a serial killer in the 19th.
Serial killer, Velvet Carp, 2 years ago, not 20 years ago, 2 years ago. Can you imagine? You guys are so lucky, you're so far from there. So, I want to share a nice story, and I'll explain a little bit of science, because science, I think, is the key to most of the tzaras that we have in the uneducated societies, right? Undisciplined societies where they don't understand the idea. Look at these kids go. Flying. These kids far out. So, what was the, every detail of the story is important. Okay, so 1987, so Rabbi Velvet Carp comes into our class, which was the class of Rabbi Polter, Rabbi Solomon, Rabbi Shanowitz, Danny Kay, who lives now in Australia. We were a class that had a few teachers. As the year progressed, we had, I think the longest was Rabbi Polter, Shraga Polter from Detroit. So he came into the class and he asked the boy 2 seats in front of me named Beryl, who lives now in the same city as me. And he said, Beryl, what did you do yesterday on the way home from school? Did you give me the step-by-step? So he says, okay, I went from yeshiva, we walked to Kingston Avenue, we went to what was then called Drimmers, Judaica World. We watched a video, one of those contemporary, he was with his friend Shalom, who's the shliach in Canada now. These are my classmates, you could remind me if you want to ask them. And we went there, we stopped in the store, we watched the video. One of those latest Jewish Uncle Pinchy or something, Uncle Moshe, they were curious. They watched, and then he says to them all, were you buying anything? No, we weren't buying anything. We just stopped in the store and we watched the video. Carp asks him, question, did your mother ever tell you that it's okay to go into that store and watch a video if you weren't shopping there? So he says, no, my mother never said that, you know. She never told me that's wrong. And I don't think the store owners really mind. We're nice people there. One of them was my counselor in camp. He wouldn't mind a guy in the cold going home, stopping off, taking a look. Stories of Rabbi Denai de Yehuda in Prague. He used to always make stops in the stores. That's the famous story with the coins that were stolen, and then he gave him advice to put it in water, where the fats of the butcher would come up in the water and prove to the court that all those coins belonged to the butcher who was handling them daily. You know. So he says, well, if your mother never said that's wrong, he had a new logic, a new circular logic. He says, what if every detail is important, and my photographic memory, if I'm uncertain, I would not share. If I'm uncertain by anything, I'm not going to share. Did your mother say it's okay? It's not okay to. Did your mother say it's not okay to smash your knuckles against the wall? Those were like those cinder block walls, you know, in the classroom. There was no wallpaper or anything. You can see it, you know, painted over. Did your mother say it's not okay to smash your knuckles against the wall? And this is already when he gets up from his seat and he hovers over you with a big beard and a big nose and big, humongous hands. And the boy, you know, I don't know what type of empathy I had at that age and what type of morality or what type of moral compass. Was I upset at what happened, or was I thankful to God that it's not happening to me, like a selfish kid, you know? When you read those stories of survival in the harshest times during the wars. So I don't remember the exact feeling, but it had to be both. It had to be, I feel so bad for him. It was so unexpected. He could have left out that detail and he wouldn't have been in such trouble. But he thought honesty was a good policy. He had no idea. He had no idea that he said he went to watch a video in a kosher store. The important part is that it's not a teacher that was pressed up against the wall by some students and he didn't eat breakfast that day and it's tough and you're dealing with them all day. It's someone who went out of his boundaries because the nature of a sadistic, and this is just nature. Now nature are laws that we study. And we study these laws to be able to know about the past and be able to predict the future and fix things. So it's not about learning how evil someone is. Those are just poetic words, like the Holocaust is testament to Hitler's evil. But how directly responsible is he if he didn't even know himself, he didn't have a Wikipedia at home, to look up the word sadism or masochism and say what pleasure is he getting from threatening and terrifying 8-year-olds? Maybe 7. 1987, some of these kids were born Tafshim Mem Aleph. 8-year-olds. So when the Rebbe is telling David Raskin that this myth that Chabad doesn't use hands and Hentim B'nai Brak, and he's telling the Bachrim who are a little aggressive to pack their bags if they're not going to refrain from using Yadayim Midei Esav, to pack their bags and go to B'nai Brak. So this myth that, because one of my, the group that's visiting me on Purim are Brisker boys from Lakewood who were real hardcore brisk. They watch the videos of the Rebbe and they don't think that it's true, that they actually have more violence in their yeshiva. But this is important for the Rebbe's honor. Speaking about Hentim B'nai Brak, eight-year-olds. You remember that movie where the Lebowski, Don't Roll on Shabbos, where the guy on the bowling lane and he says, this guy had to go and knock on every door in the neighborhood because he was a pedophile and he had to tell everybody that he moved in, he was registered. And he says on the bowling alley, he says, 8-year-olds. 8-year-olds. It's not funny. I'm not laughing and I'm not extremely angry. I just want the scientific method to be, even though it's the derech aruka, but it's the derech ktsara. It's the long but short way, because this way we can a teacher going out of his boundary to go into another class to practice his sadism as if he doesn't have enough practice in his own 9-to-5 job. And then he stomachs all that he terrorized 8-year-olds to go eat dinner at home. Thank you for watching Sheni V'Chamishi.